Hello, I'm Marty Schuma, President of Dick Anderson Construction. Welcome to our company. We have been in business for over 40 years and are proud to be the premier construction company in the region. At Dick Anderson Construction, we are dedicated to the concept that all injuries are preventable. The Department of Labor statistics show that 65% of occupational injuries happen to employees who have worked for a company less than 1 year. This is a really scary statistic and one that we need your help in changing. Your safety and the safety of all our employees is our #1 value. This is accomplished by instilling in our managers, supervisors, and employees a beyond compliance approach to safety and health issues. Through this approach, our goal is not simply to comply with federal and state safety standards, but our goal is to exceed these standards for the ultimate benefit of our employees. Your engagement is critical to our success. Every person, every level, is authorized and expected to speak up when they see someone or something that concerns them or is unsafe. We need your help to ensure our operations are safe. At no time in your employment do we want to compromise your safety or the safety of your crew members. Lastly, I want to congratulate you on being part of our excellent team, and I encourage you to work hard, work smart, and always have fun. This is a great company that offers many opportunities for our employees.
The one thing that all of you have learned about safety is not only do you have to follow the rules, you have to make sure your fellow worker is following the rules. Not only our employees, but our subcontractor employees and anybody that comes onto our project. And we want to have people leave this company in as good a shape as when they arrived.
Everyone on Dick Anderson construction sites outside of an office environment or parking facility is required to be properly outfitted for the area. They must wear approved personal protective equipment, PPE, which includes an approved hard hat, eye protection with side shields, T-shirt with a standard 4-inch sleeve, high-vis T-shirt or reflective traffic vest, durable long pants, safety-toed footwear that covers the ankle. Tennis shoes or sneakers are not approved. And standard work gloves as prescribed by Job Hazard Analysis, JHA. Orange vests are required for Dick Anderson construction foremen and supervisors. Visitors must wear orange or blue visitor hard hats. Any other task-specific PPE required by the operation and hazard analysis, such as additional hearing protection, face shield, dual hearing protection, or a respirator must be worn. Visitors who are missing any of the required PPE must check with a supervisor on site. A job hazard analysis meeting is required prior to the start of any operation. All employees will be encouraged to contribute ideas based on their work experience. A job hazard analysis meeting is one of the most important tools in any accident prevention program. The following factors should be incorporated into every meeting. This list is not all-inclusive. Access on the project site, pinch points, environmental working conditions, housekeeping, PPE, fall hazards and their preventive and protective systems, work actions including lifting, carrying, posture, and tool usage, overhead power lines and other utilities, subcontractor operations, protection of the public, and night operations. The job hazard analysis form shall be updated after a review with the crew anytime a hazard occurs that was not previously identified or anytime after a near miss. Any operation that is begun without first writing and reviewing an operation-specific job hazard analysis form will be terminated until the analysis is completed and reviewed with the crew. All places of employment shall be kept clean to the extent that the nature of the work allows. Every floor, working surface, and passageway shall be kept free of debris and keep debris away from floor openings. Hoses and electrical conductors across aisles or passageways shall be covered or suspended so there's no tripping hazard. Material storage shall not create a hazard. Bags, containers, bundles, construction materials, and other equipment shall be stored in tiers, stacked, blocked, or interlocked. They shall be limited in height so that they are stable and secure against falling, sliding, or collapsing. Free access shall be maintained at all times to all exits, fire alarm boxes, fire extinguishing equipment, and any other emergency equipment. Free access means clear of all obstruction. Common garbage and other waste shall be disposed of at frequent and regular intervals. At the end of each work shift, a general cleanup of all work areas shall be performed. This includes vehicles and equipment. Understand the requirements and be able to recognize a safe scaffold system, including stability, work platforms, proper access, fall protection, and safe use. Do not get onto any scaffold until you have been trained by the company on scaffold safety. Do not get onto any scaffold that you deem to be unsafe. Contact the superintendent. Do not get onto any scaffold until it's been inspected and approved for use on that shift by a scaffolding competent person. Use only approved means of access and egress to the scaffold. Never climb cross braces. Report or repair any missing or damaged guardrail component. Work only from the platform. Do not attempt to extend your reach by using the guardrail, a ladder, or any other object placed on the platform. Do not overload the scaffold. Do not place materials or tools near the edge of the platform. Keep the platform clear of tripping hazards. Do not carry tools and equipment up the access ladder. More people are injured each year on ladders than any other piece of equipment. All personnel should be trained in ladder safety. Return ladders to the proper storage location when the job is completed. Ladders must be maintained in good condition at all times. Those that are defective in any way must be removed from service and red tagged until made safe for use or destroyed. Ladders should be appropriate for industrial applications, Class 1 or 1A. Light-duty household ladders are not acceptable. Multi-positioning ladders must be approved by both the Vice President and the Safety Director. Ladders must be inspected by the user before each use. Straight ladders shall be tied, blocked, and equipped with safety shoes or otherwise secured to prevent displacement. Straight ladders shall be used at an angle of approximately 75 degrees from the horizontal. This position can be established by placing the base of the ladder 1/4 of its working length from the vertical plane of the top support. Maintain 3 points of contact. Always face the ladder when climbing or descending. Objects that restrict use of both hands for climbing shall not be carried in the climber's hands. Ladders must not be placed in front of a door unless the door is blocked open, locked, or guarded. Ladders must be used only on firm, stable bases. Ladders shall not be placed on boxes, barrels, or other unstable bases to form longer sections. Ladders used to gain access from one level to another must be long enough for the top to extend 3 feet above the landing, or suitable grab rails shall be provided, allowing safe movement to or from the point of access. Never use the platform and top step of ordinary types of step ladders. Fall protection is split into 3 categories: guardrail systems, fall arrest systems, and fall restraint systems. Guardrail systems are the best method of fall protection available and are more acceptable than the use of a body harness for fall arrest or as a positioning device. All guardrails must withstand 200 pounds of force, where the top rail is 42 inches plus or minus 3 inches. Mid rails must measure 21 inches plus or minus 3 inches. Toe boards must be installed at the bottom of the guardrail. If guardrails are not feasible, then all workers must be protected from falls greater than 6 feet. Fall arrest systems, when used properly with all 3 components, create a complete system. All harnesses need to fit snugly by tightening the straps and buckles. Connecting devices attach the wearer to the anchoring point. Most common connecting devices are rope, webbing, steel or shock-absorbing lanyards, retractable lifelines, and rope grabs. Lanyards and lifelines must have a minimum breaking point of 5,000 pounds and be equipped with a locking snap hook. The use of knots to connect lanyards is not permitted. All anchorage points shall be capable of supporting 5,000 pounds per attached worker and shall be approved by management prior to attachment. If the anchoring point is less than 5,000 pounds or a safety factor of 2, the proposed anchoring point needs to be approved by a qualified person. Anchorage points should be easily accessible and, if possible, directly above the worker to limit the free fall distance. Avoid tying off to an anchor at foot level, since this increases the fall distance allowed by the connecting device. Personal fall protection systems shall be inspected before each use for wear, damage, and other deterioration. Defective components shall be removed from service. Fall protection rescue plans will be implemented if an employee falls and rescue is necessary from a suspended position at an elevated working area. A fall protection rescue plan should be addressed prior to employees donning their harnesses. Workers should be trained in the available rescue equipment and specific techniques, along with the hazards of a rescue operation. Cranes are a crucial part in moving large, heavy loads in today's construction industries. The crane must not be assembled or used unless ground conditions are firm, drained, and graded to a sufficient extent. Assembly, disassembly must be directed by a person who meets the criteria for both a competent person and a qualified person. That person is considered the AD director. Before commencing assembly, disassembly operations, the AD director must ensure that the crew members understand all of the following: their tasks, the hazards associated with their tasks, and the hazardous positions, locations that they need to avoid. The employer must ensure that each operator is trained, certified, licensed, and evaluated before operating any crane. Prior to each shift the crane will be used, the crane operator must complete a visual inspection. This inspection must be done before or during that shift. The inspection must consist of observation for apparent deficiencies. If any deficiency is identified as a safety hazard, the equipment must be taken out of service until the problem has been corrected. All manufacturers' procedures related to the operational functions of the crane must be followed at all times. Load charts and operators' manuals must be available in the cab at all times. Never operate the crane in excess of its rated capacity. A lift plan must be completed before every pick. Know the location and voltage of all power lines on the site. Ensure the equipment, load line, and load are a sufficient distance away from the power line based on the voltage. To prevent employees from entering the swing radius hazard areas, train each employee assigned to work on or near the crane how to recognize struck by and pinch crush hazards. Erect and maintain control lines, warning lines, railings, or similar barriers to mark the boundaries of the swing radius. Keep clear of all loads. No employee must be directly under the load. Hoisting routes that minimize the exposure of employees to hoisted loads must be used. Whenever there is a concern as to safety, the operator must have the authority to stop and refuse to handle loads until a qualified person has determined that safety has been assured. A qualified rigger is needed during assembly, disassembly of cranes when employees are engaged in hooking, unhooking, or guiding the load, or in the initial connection of a load to a component or structure within the fall zone. The person designated as the qualified rigger must have the ability to properly rig the load for a particular job. The most common types of rigging used are alloy steel chain, wire rope, metal mesh, natural or synthetic fiber rope, and synthetic web. Rigging equipment must be inspected prior to use on each shift, and as necessary during its use to ensure that it is safe. Defective rigging equipment must be removed from service. All rigging must have permanently affixed and legible tags as prescribed by the manufacturer that indicate the recommended safe working load. No rigging will be loaded in excess of its recommended safe working load. Never shorten slings with knots, bolts, or other devices. Always protect slings from sharp edges. When not in use, rigging equipment must be removed from the immediate work area so it doesn't present a hazard to employees. To maintain our equipment in safe working order, Operators are required to be trained by a qualified Dick Anderson construction trainer, complete a daily visual inspection of their equipment at the beginning of each shift, and document any problems. Subcontractors may only use our equipment after first obtaining written approval from Dick Anderson Construction. Subcontractors must assume all risk of liability for damages and provide proof of replacement value insurance coverage for loss or damage to the equipment. No one other than trained and designated personnel shall operate forklifts, aerial lifts, or other Dick Anderson construction equipment. Ensure proper fall protection is being worn at all times. Unsafe operation of equipment or trucks will not be tolerated. Equipment abuse will be handled in the same manner as safety infractions and may result in termination. Only qualified personnel will operate equipment. Pre-shift inspections must be done. Indicate on the daily inspection forms if there are any problems or if the equipment is okay. Equipment with major defects should be placed out of service until repaired. Never park equipment where it will cause an obstruction. Avoid leaving equipment unattended while it's running. Enclosures and guards removed from equipment during service or repair must be replaced before the equipment is returned to service. Only qualified personnel will perform equipment service and repair. Be aware of everyone's location in the work area. Look in the direction of travel while operating equipment. Seat belts are to be worn by all drivers, equipment operators, and their passengers. No one is to ride on equipment other than in a seat designed for riding and that has a seat belt provided. There are several types of hazards you can encounter with power-operated tools, all of which are easy to prevent. Unguarded points of operation. Electrical problems like bad cord insulation, poor connections, and broken plugs. Physical injury resulting from dropping a tool or straining to lift one. Defective tools or tools needing repair. Select the right tool for the job. Don't try to make the tool do something it's not designed to do. Inspect each tool before use to make sure it's not missing anything. Check that the tool is in good working order, saw blades sharp, and cords in good condition. Become familiar with the manufacturer's instructions and follow them. Practice electrical safety by making sure cord insulation is intact. Use the correct plugs. 3-pronged cords go into 3-pronged outlets. Turn off the power and unplug before adjusting or fixing a tool. Wear safety glasses with face shield. Don't wear loose clothes, jewelry, or gloves that could get caught in the machinery. Keep the work area clean. Be especially careful of flammable liquids or liquid-soaked rags that could catch fire if ignited by a spark from the tools. Keep cords off the floor so no one trips over them. Store power tools in their assigned locations, or at least away from locations where they could fall on someone or be accidentally turned on by someone brushing against them. The term line of fire is very common when talking about the hazards of a work task. Depending on the work being performed, there may be many different lines of fire, or there could be very few. It is important to understand what the line of fire is and how to avoid being in it to avoid injuries. A simple definition of line of fire is being in harm's way. Line of fire injuries occur when the path of a moving object or the release of hazardous energy intersects with an individual's body. 3 major categories of line of fire incidents are caught in or between incidents, struck by incidents, and stored energy incidents. There are many specific examples of hazards for each of these categories. Here are a few quick examples for each category. A construction worker is standing between a wall and an excavator. He moves before the excavator spins around the counterweight to avoid being caught in or between the equipment and the wall. Struck by incidents include the risk of being hit by a nail. Hand and body placement is crucial to avoid injury. Most of our incidents are due to poor body position. Other struck by incidents include being cut with a utility knife, dropping a tool on yourself or another worker, being hit while cutting banding material, or being struck by moving equipment. Stored energy involves mechanical, gravitational, hydraulic, pneumatic, and electrical sources. The best way to avoid line-of-fire incidents is to eliminate the hazards that cause these incidents whenever possible. By totally eliminating the hazards, there is no chance that you or anyone else in the work area can be injured by that hazard. When elimination is not possible, engineering controls are the next best choice in protecting yourself from line-of-fire incidents. Some engineering controls that could protect you from line-of-fire incidents include physical barriers, guarding around moving parts, and tow boards on elevated work platforms to prevent objects from falling into the area below. There are many other possible engineering controls that could be used depending on the specific hazard. Total elimination of hazards is not always possible, and engineering controls may not be feasible or they can fail. Because of this reality, it is important to decrease your chance of being a victim of line-of-fire injuries by not putting yourself in harm's way in the first place. Understand the work tasks that are going on around you and the associated hazards. Ask yourself, what is the worst that could happen and what will happen if a certain safeguard fails? Recognize line-of-fire hazards and act accordingly. To better protect workers exposed to respirable crystalline silica, OSHA has issued 2 new silica standards, one for construction and the other for general industry and maritime. Make sure you have the right tools and accessories for dust suppression and dust extraction. OSHA's respirable crystalline silica standard for construction requires employers to limit worker exposures to silica and to take other steps to protect workers. The standard provides flexible alternatives, which OSHA expects will be especially useful for small employers. Employers can either use the control methods laid out in Table 1 of the construction standard, or they can measure workers' exposure to silica and independently decide which dust controls work best to keep exposures beneath the permissible exposure limit in their workplaces. Regardless of which exposure control method is used, all construction employers covered by the standard are required to establish and implement a written exposure control plan that identifies tasks that involve exposure and methods used to protect workers, including procedures to restrict access to work areas where high exposures may occur. Designate a competent person to implement the written exposure control plan. Restrict housekeeping practices that expose workers to silica where feasible alternatives are available. Offer medical exams, including chest x-rays and lung function tests, every 3 years for workers who are required by the standard to wear a respirator for 30 or more days per year. Train workers on operations that result in silica exposure and ways to limit exposure. Keep records of exposure measurements, objective data, and medical exams. For questions or more information, please contact the Dick Anderson Construction Safety Department. Rules vary by job site. Please contact the site supervisor for rules at your location regarding parking, cell phone use, smoking, and tobacco use. Know where first aid supplies are located. In an emergency situation, follow emergency action plans. Stay clear of moving equipment and avoid crane swing radius areas. Ask your supervisor to inform you about emergency escape procedures and escape route assignments. Procedures for employees who remain behind to perform critical job site operations. Procedures to account for all employees after emergency evacuation. Identification of employee rescue and medical duties. Preferred means of reporting and other emergencies. Types of evacuation to be used in emergency circumstances. Names and job titles of persons or departments who can be contacted for further information about the plan. It is the policy of Dick Anderson Construction to hold every employee accountable for his or her safety performance, including subcontractors and supervisory personnel. Failure to perform our work in a safe manner may lead to disciplinary action that will be consistent and swift, determined on a case-by-case basis.
So why do you work safe?
The reason I work safe is to get home to my family and so I can hunt and play golf on the weekends.
I work safe because first off, it's the law, so it's the right thing to do, to follow OSHA and all the rules. Second, I like to mountain bike, downhill ski, whitewater raft, all the fun activities, so I want to continue being able to do those things with my husband and family.
I work safe so I can return home to my new wife each and every day, and we can enjoy the many adventures and trips we plan on taking in the future.
I work safe to make it home to my 3 young daughters who love seeing me walk through the door at the end of the day and playing with our dogs.
I work safe to set a good example for our DAC team and our subcontractors on job sites.
I like to work safe so that I can go enjoy my weekends and go fishing, and I don't want to die because I'm young and beautiful.
I work safe so that I can make it home to my family every night, take them fishing and hunting and vacations, lots of vacations.